Hey coaches, Scott Reslow here, Coach Reslow from Resv Systems. How you guys doing? Hope you're having a good season thus far. This video is about statistics. So statistics matter quite a bit, and really, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of statistics and what they can do for you in the coaching world. Really, this video is going to be about just how does it work? What is a kill? What is a block? What is a dig? Just so you have a good way to collect all these statistics and get them out there. Certainly, you can use that data for your own coaching needs, and actually, you would want to. For example, if you're keeping all these stats and you know that for some reason you get, I don't know, we'll say 8 kills on the left side, your average 8 kills on the left for a match, and you only get one kill on the right, you could say, all right, well, data wise, we are not getting enough offense out of our right side. So we got to go and figure that out. But you need to have the definitions first. And certainly, in terms of when you start showing your data for each particular player, when it comes time for awards and stuff like that, you want to make sure that your data is accurate. So we're going to start with what are the statistics, what actually constitutes them. So the first is kills. What is a kill? Well, a kill is anything that is done by a player to stop the rally and win the point. Generally, we know kills is a swing from a pin or a middle or what have you that hits the floor on the opposition side. That's a kill. And certainly, if take a swing and it goes off the block out of bounds, again, that's a kill for you. You tip it to the floor. That's a kill. And certainly, anytime a setter dumps or attacks the ball and it hits the floor, goes off a blocker out of bounds, or off a player, a digger out of bounds, that's considered a kill because those are all possible kills. I will say that the one thing that's kind of tricky is, let's say the ball is set to a pin or a middle, you take a swing and the blocker has a fault, has a net violation or a blocking error, that is also your kill as well. So let's say I'm up in the air, I swing off, I hit the ball off the block, and you know the guy digs it on the other team, but the blocker is in the net. That's a kill for me. So you want to make sure you have those kills correctly. I mean, it is one of the number one, arguably the best way to sort of decide who's effective on the floor and who isn't offensively, is the kill. The hitting percentage comes into play certainly, and that is, to sort of figure out the hitting percentage, it's kills minus the amount of errors you make divided by the amount of attempts, and that's your hitting percentage. Certainly, you want to be in the high 300s or 400s if you can. 250 to 350 is really where your left sides should be. You kind of want your right side to be 300 and above. And certainly, if you're really cooking, you want your middles to be 400 and above. So that's how that statistics works out. But generally, hills are important. Need to know how to do them, and those are the definitions for that. Okay, let's talk about assists. So an assist is the ball that is set to the attacker and the kill occurs. So you have to have a kill occur for the set to be an assist. So your setter sets the second ball, attacker makes a swing, hits the floor on the other, on the other side, on the opposition side. That's a kill. So one kill, one assist. And then, if you, and that could be any player playing the second ball. So sometimes the setter digs the ball, then the libero comes in, plays the second. We get a high ball, get a swing off the block, goes out of bounds. That's a kill for the attacker, and now the assist for the libero. So the assists have to match up with the kills. Like, you can't have assists without a kill. So if you're doing your stats and you find that, all right, for the markings, your setter has 30 assists, but you only have 20 kills, something's off. Like, they have to match up together. But that's how it works. One kill, one assist, and that's how you generate your thing. And then again, in terms of like creating data, what's your setters, assist per set? So he has 8 in set one, 10 in set two, and then 2 in set three. So that's 20 assists, 20 divided by three. And that's sort of how you get your assists per set. So, anywho, that's how assists work. Let's talk aces now. A service ace. Pretty important because you got to be serving tough, and anytime you get an ace for point, it's pretty special. Uh, Service aces, again, you're serving the ball, and the first player contact, hits him and goes out of bounds. That's an ace. Obviously, if you find the floor, no one makes a touch on it. That's an ace as well. Where it gets a little tricky sometimes is, all right, let's say the ball is served, it hits the passer, then hits somebody else, and then goes out of bounds. Is that an ace or not? Really, that's at the statistician's discretion. Uh, I like to call it an ace if it's really fast. Like if it's bang bang off somebody, probably an ace. But when it's not an ace is when you serve, the guy shanks it, and it almost goes out of bounds, and someone makes another touch, and then it just sort of falls to the floor. That's really not an ace. I mean, the ace happens on that first touch more than anything else. So you want to keep track of the aces. And again, um, how you would do the aces per set, very similar. Again, you're collecting all the data, then dividing by how many sets that are happening. And that's how you get your aces per set. Uh, but that's the ace part of this conversation. And a lot of times you get a lot of aces based on serving spots and finding the right people to serve. But aces aren't going to be easy to come by unless the team can't pass or is not really a solid organization in terms of anything. Aces are are really come into play when you're putting a lot of pressure from the service line. That's why in the men's game you really have to, because the serving is key to at least making that team get off balance, if not, you know, getting an ace. So. All right, let's talk blocking. So, blocking is one of those statistics that often gets misunderstood. Uh, Blocking has a two-part attached to it in our sport. So, it's not just a simple, he gets a block or he doesn't. There's actually a little bit more to it. So, the first thing is that I'll tell you what's not a block. Anytime the ball goes off the blocker's hands, uh, it can be a block and it cannot be a block, right? So if let's say the attacker swings, my hands are in the way, it hits my hands, and then we get a dig on top of that. That's not a block for us. It's not a block for the blocker. It's really called a slowdown, and it really has no statistical meaning. The dig counts, but the block does not. So for a block to matter, it has to be a block point. Okay. So if I go up and I block the ball and it goes back down on their side, hits the floor or hits somebody and goes out of bounds, that's a block point, and then it's a block. Now, if it's just me up by myself, the solo block. If it's me and my teammate, we send two blocks up together, we get the block, and then that's not a solo block anymore. Now that's a block assist for both of us. And so when you're calculating blocks, solo blocks tend to have more weight than a block assist. Certainly, they're cooler. One on one is you're really not supposed to get a block, but it happens and it's really neat. And then let's say you send three blockers, so we know that the outside hitter is quite good, or maybe just our brand of volleyball is that anytime they're out of system, we're going to send three blockers. If we get that block and all three are up, every single player gets a block assist. So what you'll find out is that the block point generally in the stat sheet will be below. So let's say we have 4 or 5 block assists and 2 blocks, and that's a triple block and a double block. That's 2 points, and then we have, what did I say, 4 block assists. I mean, excuse me, 4 block solos. I mean, that's 6. So that'd be 6 total points. 6 blocks total, team blocks. But in reality, as you start adding up who got block assists and who got solo blocks, it's well more than 6. So that's why blocking sort of an interesting stat. You can get it sort of inflated very easily. Like I said, the first common mistake is that anytime the ball goes off the blocker's hands, is considered a block. That's not accurate. It has to be a block for point. And then you have the solo block, which is one-on-one by yourself. And then you have the block assist, where you have 2 or 3 blockers up together, get the block, they all get a block assist. So it's tricky. Blocking's huge in the boys and men's volleyball games, so you need to know how it works, because you don't want to inflate those. You want to make sure those get right, because the blocking statistic can be the difference, certainly in terms of how a player is viewed. If the boy if the player is averaging 20 blocks a match, there's something wrong. Like you should be getting 2, maybe 3 blocks a match. And then certainly if you're really cooking, you're getting higher, and bigger games happen here or there. But it's definitely not a situation where you're going to amass a lot of blocks, unless you're playing somebody that's the teams are lopsided, and the other team's not very good. So that's how blocking works. So let's talk digs. Digs are basically any time the ball is picked up by an opposing player off a spike or an attempted attack. So, the outside hitter hits a ball, he goes inside the block, and the libero slides in and pops the ball up. That's a dig, right? So, you have a back row attacker. He swings the ball deep in the corner, and your outside hitter's playing deep. He digs that ball up. He picks that ball up and puts it to target. That's a dig. You know, Anything that's an attack can be a dig, and that's important to note. So one of the other things is, let's say you have a setter that likes to really be sneaky about setting the ball over on 2 in an aggressive way. This is where the statistician has to sort of figure out what he or she wants to do there. Sets it over quickly, you pick that up, that can be a dig. Now, if he or she just sets it over because on 3 because it's a free ball and they're just putting in a spot, like, that's not an aggressive kill attempt. That's a free ball over, and that ball gets passed up. That's not a dig. So the dig aspect, context matters, as with everything in life, right? But it has to be an aggressive attack of some sort, whether it's a swing, a tip, a roll, a set over, a dump, what have you. So when it's not a dig, any free ball, any sort of bump over, that's not a dig. And then digs also don't happen off a block per se. So let's say, I'm attacking and I have 2 blockers up. I swing hard into the hands. It comes back on our side, and the libero picks it back up on a cover. It's not a dig, technically speaking. You want to make sure that, the block is making the move and it is trying for a block point, but at the same time, it's not considered a kill attempt, so it can't be a dig. Uh, that's another way that digs can be inflated. Your libero's covering your attacker, and he's recycling the ball over and over again off the block. That's not a dig. So that's how digs work. We'll go into our final conversation. So the last thing that I want to go over statistically, and I'm sure I'm leaving some stuff out. I just wanted to cover some basics and go over a couple of things. But the last thing are, what are errors? What constitutes an error in all the aspects of stats that we just talked about. So, for the kills and the hitting errors, like, a hitting error is anytime you hit the ball out of bounds, hit the ball into the net and it doesn't go over, uh, you know, miss contact and the ball just hits the floor. Like, those are all hitting errors. And certainly those are things you're trying to avoid. You're trying to get your team and your players and your attackers to the point where they don't make a lot of hitting errors. But I'll tell you what's not a hitting error is when the ball is set from the setter and it doesn't come out right, and then they call a violation for bad hands. That's not a hitting error, right? So that becomes a setting error or a ball handling error, if I can speak right. So a ball handling error only happens when you try to set the ball and the official calls a violation, whether it be a double or whether it be a lift or whether it be something like that. So those can sometimes be confused, right? Set the ball wrong and the attacker gets a hitting error, or we set the ball well and then the attacker makes an error, but they call, it's a setting error. No, ball handling errors only happen on violation from the official, and hitting errors happen when you hit the ball to bounds, hit the ball in the net, don't make contact at all, and I almost forgot this. I'm glad I thought about it. Anytime you get blocked for a point. So if I'm swinging and I hit into the block holds true, the ball slams down on our side of the floor and we don't cover, that's a hitting error, a block point. So those always sort of connect as well. I think we talked about the connection point of some of the other items as well in terms of assists and kills. Like can't have to have a assist, has to have a kill. You can have a kill without an assist, right? Anytime the ball's overpassed, thump it down, that's a kill for you. But you can't have an assist without a kill that follows. And just like you can't have a hitting, you can't have a block point without a hitting error. The hitting error has to be connected to that. So I mean that's another way to sort of look at it, I guess, is if I have a solo block, that should be a hitting error for somebody else's too, and they should all sort of match up together. There isn't really a digging error. It doesn't really exist in my knowledge. Making a dig attempt, you try for it. If you get it, great. If you don't, all good. Blocking errors. Anytime you touch the net, and the official calls the violation, that's a blocking error. It is not a blocking error if you just don't make the block, right? Like you set up your block, he uses your hands, goes out of bounds. It's not a blocking error. That's just the kid making a kill. Service error, serve the ball out of bounds, serve the ball into the net, uh, have a violation. Let's say, at the college level, if you toss the ball and catch it or let it fall, the violation. At the high school level, oftentimes you can let it drop once and you get a replay. But yeah, those would be service errors. And I think that's about it. So that's the statistics portion of how the game works. Very basic level. You can go into more details. I didn't really talk about formulas and hitting percentages, and I went over it briefly, but not a lot. We can do more videos on it and whatnot. And certainly, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at scott.reslow@protonmail.com and ask some questions. I can give you some information on it. But you want to get those statistics right because it is sort of important. One of the things that makes the sport fun, and quite frankly, every sport fun, is that you have these stats, and these stats they can be compared with players from the past, and you can figure out, who did what when, and that's how, we sort of decide who the cream of the crop is, winning championships in high statistical categories. And it's neat. Like that's one of the things that people like to follow sports about. Hey, this kid had 30 kills. Wow, that's amazing. This kid had 17 digs against this team. And so you want to get those stats right. And certainly that's going to help also when you want to use that data for your coaching decisions as well, if you choose to. All right, everyone. Hope you're having a great week. Stay well and like and share if you like the video.